All right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Just going to be doing a quick recap from round one of the Open Championship and then just diving into round two coverage here for you guys, which will be talking about Showdown, talking about prop picks, maybe some three ball bets, maybe some matchup bets. If we have some good ones, we'll touch on those. And then potentially just jumping on some outright winners as well. I mentioned that there might be one that I want to find. And so we'll see if we can find an outright winner as well. Let's go ahead and kind of jump into just a quick recap from round one. Round one was certainly, I would say it was mostly as expected for the most part. A little bit of, I don't want to say, what am I trying to say here? I wouldn't say it was unpredictable is the easy way to put it, but we'll just pull up the Showdown board here. In terms of like the highest owned players, Kyle Morikawa's +2. He really just had one bad shot that kind of did him in there. Scotty Scheffler kind of had the round that you would expect. Rory was obviously the big shocker. This is a major. If a guy's not having his A game, that's going to happen. Corey Connors playing as you would expect. Tommy Fleetwood, a little bit of a cut sweat. I do think +5 will make the cut. We'll touch on whether or not those guys can make the cut. We'll touch on whether in a second. Obear, I kind of mentioned I was a little bit worried about him playing with Bryson. The one that honestly is a little bit annoying to me was the Sanjay M ownership on, especially in cash. I tweeted this out. He was the second and third highest owned player, maybe fourth highest owned player, depending on the contest, but extremely high owned in cash. And like, not a cash play. It's just crazy. Like, I get the upside. A lot of people want to chase it. But when you're playing cash, you do need to focus on a player's likelihood to make the cut. He has been someone that has had random miscuts. And I could see people being on him. I could see him being 20% owned, but not 35% owned, not almost 40% owned, and not being the second highest owned player. That one was like, all right, this keeps happening over and over again. When is it going to stop happening? Just an interesting thing there. But in terms of kind of like the 9 to 5 model is doing pretty solid. Like, we scroll down here, we can sort it by that current place here. So we'll do first, then we'll do like top 65 or so, and compare that against everything else. So the 9 to 5 model rank versus the salary rank, we can see we're getting about a about 3 spots better than DraftKings scoring or DraftKings pricing, which is obviously pretty good. You look at ownership leverage rank compared to the ownership rank, leverage rank is doing a little bit better. Once we go down a little bit more, that's actually going to be a better kind of predictor. So like top 30 players are in the top 30. How did they rank compared to their salary rank? That's where we're starting to see a big difference maker. And so for like DFS purposes, it's a very, very low 6 for 6 number right now. And so if you have 6 for 6, you're probably sitting pretty. Now, fortunately, I do have a lineup that is currently 6 for 6. One of my main builds, I end up running out 2 main builds. One of the main builds has Tommy Fleetwood, which don't like that. The other one is pretty solid. Kyle Morikawa, Hatton, Xander, Scott. I don't remember Harmon. No, maybe not Harmon. Brian Connors. Those 2 easy ones. So fingers are crossed there. Have a lot of good hand builds. So we'll see if that kind of holds up and becomes a good thing. We got one comment here. Let's see. Finally can see. Was it not showing up before? I hope that wasn't the case. Yeah, it was Ryan, the other main build. But let's go ahead and get into some Showdown picks as well. So I do want to start with actually looking at weather. So looking at the hourly and daily doesn't really tell us everything we need to know. So I kind of looked at weather.com. That's my secondary site that I like to look at. What I always like to say is stick to one site, at least when you're getting your weather report. That way you're going to have consistent results. You'll be able to better gauge it. It's weird that the weather is different per site, but that's just how it goes. But what I noticed is there might be a slight edge for the AM wave. The AM wave arguably has better golfers in it as well, especially with Rory not playing well. So that might already inherently be what we want to attack for the Showdown slate. And maybe prop spending wise as well. That might be something that we want to attack. But again, not terrible. I do expect the weather to be kind of like what it was yesterday or today, depending, obviously today for us, but whatever. So when we look at it from Showdown, so we're in round 2 Showdown, we're clicking on Showdown rank. And so who do we want to be targeting? Maybe that does have that AMT time. I believe I am doing this late enough in the day to the point where it's popping up. Yeah, so early. So we got Scotty and Xander. And then there is kind of a drop off. It goes Connors. So he'd be the 10th ranked play on the whole Showdown slate. He's the 3rd best play if you guys are doing early only. Really depends on how many lineups you're submitting for Showdown purposes. If you are someone that is doing 150 lineups, I would say mix it up. Do maybe a third of your lineups AM only. Do maybe 20% of your lineups then PM only, and then maybe mix and match. Because overall, I don't think it's going to be a big factor, but it could be. It could be for sure. But I did think that was interesting there. And we didn't really see a big AM PM split. But then if we want to look at it from the late, then we are getting a majority of the good Showdown plays as well. So that's kind of annoying in that aspect. If you are trying to do AM or PM split, you're missing out on maybe the top 2 if you do a late. But then you're missing out on like the core of the good plays. And so that might be a little bit risky there as well. So that is kind of something that we do need to worry about slightly there. I do want to try to give you guys a little first look build with that as well. So let's just see if we can put together a good build, and I'll pop that up here in a second. All right. So here we go. So let's try to do one with Xander. And who was it? Connors was the next best. And so already that's kind of an issue there, just in general. Let me go back to this real quick. Yeah, it's just ugly. It's ugly. If I'm doing an early only build, I'm probably not doing it by hand. Let's just put it that way. Because it's not pretty. And so I think that's probably the route I'm going to go with there, guys. So here, let's jump back into the lineup process. We're going to focus on late only. Just because it's much easier to make a better build that way. You can just sort it by projections too. So Rye, we can get in there. Probably Finau, Harmon. We want to get in there for sure. Haddon. Okay, let's try all those guys. So just by doing this, we already are kind of setting ourselves up pretty well, I would say. Do we want to go Rory? I do expect him to bounce back. Tommy Fleetwood, someone I do expect to bounce back. I kind of don't mind how this is setting up already. Let me just check again. I'm just looking here. Finau, Hatton. Yeah, we got to get Hatton in there. $6.5, probably a little bit too much left over there. Well, you guys kind of get the point there. If we're trying to do more of a late build, that's probably the approach we can go with. And again, I kind of just mentioned if I'm going to be doing more of a AM only, I'm probably going to be using the 9 to 5 custom model to do that. I can show you guys that as well. But in general, I do want to see what it's kind of spitting out to us lineup wise, just in general, like what it's telling us are the best lineups. So let's take a peek at that. So as always, we do need to get this 2 data points to go off of. So we'll do whatever, just bump them up by rounding up there. let's just see what it kind of tells us are the best builds. So 3 unique players is typically what I like to do. 30% max exposure is typically what I like to do. Let's just see 20 lineups, see what it tells us are the best lineups for round 1 or round 2 showdown. I think we'll leave someone that's popping up kind of value-wise. Brian Harmon, I think it's just going to be a play. Aaron Wright, Corey Connors is popping up in there. Tony Finau hadn't. So it is kind of favoring that late tee time split. So if we are trying to go maybe more with a AM and PM advantage, I do think we probably want to do it this way. Probably do an extreme there. And we can just export this and then we would upload it here once we download it. So I think that's what I'm going to do in terms of GPPs. For cash, I probably will do a hand build. I think that's the way to go. I do want to take a peek at which players are going to be like the most likely to regress and kind of who's likely to win as well. So let's jump back into that Showdown tab. And let's take a peek at that. So round 2 regression. This is in simple. Who's most likely to play better? Who's most likely to play worse? We'll take a peek at that. So I'll put all the players in the field. Who's most likely to play better in round 2? Now, I typically like looking at this when it is an easier scoring event. Like which players are just likely to go off in the next round because they had a poor round in round 1. Not exactly the case with this being a harder scoring event. It's more likely that they're just going to get, I don't want to say eaten up again, but probably not going to go too low, you know? But we've got Tagala, Clark, Griffin, Rory, Aubert, Tom Kim, Akshay. I mean, no real shocks in terms of how they played. No one's really popping up there too much. And obviously, if we look at the reverse of that, I mean, this makes sense. These are a bunch of kind of no-name players that are popping up in there, including Phil Mickelson. Just kidding, Phil. But a little bit surprising that Daniel Brown's not dead last in that list. Interesting there. I know a lot of people, some people were tilted by his first round lead. But let's take a peek at the live strokes gain. We're not going to have a lot of players on this just because of a lot of DP Tour players and a lot of LIV players, but we can take a peek at the PGA Tour players. So let's eliminate those players that don't have any data. Oops. So there we go. A lot of people like to look at strokes gained putting. We can take a peek at that. Like who's most likely to improve strokes gained putting? Bear lost 3 strokes putting. Wow. And still in 82nd place. Is that the Bryson effect? Does anyone think that's the Bryson effect in play there? I did mention that. Interesting. Robert McIntyre actually showed up. I was pretty surprised. I mean, isn't that crazy? Lost 2 strokes, 2.5 strokes putting almost, and still is 31st. That's actually crazy. I'm curious. Let's take a bigger peek at him. I'm actually very curious now. What the heck is he doing? Other data-wise. Gained a lot of strokes around strokes gain approach. Okay, that was the biggest thing for him. Interesting. Good for him. Yeah, let's jump back into strokes gain putting. Poston. Yeah, we're probably not looking at him for Showdown. Adam Hadwin, yeah. I mean, who lost the most strokes putting? Let's just take a peek at that. Adam Hadwin. Yeah, still 82nd. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Both him and Aubert, like, being in contention after losing that many strokes putting, that's kind of crazy. Cameron Young being 42nd while losing 3 strokes gained putting, that is pretty crazy. Anyone else popping up in there? That's a little bit shocking. I mean, Corey Connors, not typically a good putter, but lost about a stroke and a quarter more. So he actually has a little bit of upside as well if you kind of look at it that way. Again, I don't like to just dial in on one specific stat like that too much because golf is if anyone's played it, golf is a game where it's always a balancing act. If you're driving it well one day, you're most likely not putting it well that day or something, or your approach game is not that good. It's always a balancing act. So if we're just looking at one stat like putting, I get why, but like that doesn't tell us strokes gain approach, strokes gain off the tee, fairways hit, like was someone not accurate off the tee. And actually, let's take a peek at that as well. Because that can be a big detriment to people this week. If they're not hitting the fairway, they could really struggle. I'm not seeing too much. Tagala's like the biggest one. Aaron Rye was fine. Yeah, I'm not really seeing much there. Yeah. All right, so let's jump into some comments here. Need Fleetwood to get together. Yeah, he kind of fell apart. I believe it was on the back nine. Let me double check there. I think it was consistent bogeys, if I believe. I'm looking it up on the PGA Tour site right now. Yeah. I mean, not terrible. Didn't score on the par fives. Actually, was +1 on the par fives. Probably aimed to take advantage of that. Only one birdie. He's someone where, again, weather depending, I do think the late tee time is probably a little bit more difficult, slightly. But yeah, I think he'll probably make the cut. And in terms of what do you think the cut will be? I mean, you can look at Data Golf. I think it'll probably be +5. I mean, there's a chance it'll be +6 as well. It really just depends on the pins. I don't. Do we have the pins yet? I think it's normally on the course stats. I don't think we do. I believe it's normally, and maybe they just don't have that this week. The PGA Tour site, just because it's the Open Championship. But yeah, I mean, most likely anyone that's +4 made the cut. +5, I probably would expect to be able to make the cut as well. Yeah. It's just it depends on how hard it plays tomorrow. And we'll be able to tell that pretty early, I would say, in the day. And yeah, the withdrawal, I mean, the clip, if you guys saw it, is pretty funny about this. A lot of people are tweeting that he just kind of gave up. He's like, it's cold, it's wet, I'm not playing well, I'm a little bit hurt, I'm getting out of there. Yeah, it was kind of funny there. Funny clip. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into some. We'll jump into some round bets, okay? And then we'll get into some 3-ball bets. Well, actually, real quick, while I'm on the page, Showdown wise, let's just take a peek at win rank. So the win rank stat is kind of taking a peek at. It's kind of a more unique play. It's like taking a peek at how players are projected to score for round 2, and then adjusting for then round 3 and round 4. So this is kind of the win rank right now as it sits. Sky Scheffler's in 3rd for win rank. And so I wonder if we go to the betting tab, and let me pull that up, betting page. I kind of want to see the odds there. Shane Lowry currently number 1 in 2nd place by a couple strokes. Xander number 2 in win rank. And then you got JT. I don't know if I believe that. Noren maybe finally has found his form. Hughes. Again, it's tough to see that. Adam Scott, though. Adam Scott's kind of a long shot bet that I mentioned, mostly due to the weird narrative of the 2nd place in your previous PGA Tour event all winning, or those have all been the winners. Brooks Koepka kind of sneaking up in there. Live golfer. Again, with live golfers, the data is a little bit skewed. Let's take a peek at those odds. So 4-1 for Scotty. They've gone slightly worse, actually, which is kind of crazy. Then we got 6-1 for Xander. If you guys didn't bet Xander at 10-1 and you want to get on the action, I really don't mind that. Again, probably playing the slightly easier tee time tomorrow. Projected to play well in round 2 Showdown. Round 3 is kind of typically the round in which he dips. But yeah, 6-1. That's a very good number there. And who is Shane Lowry? 5-1. I do kind of want to do that as a live bet because he's been so annoying. I don't want to miss out on him this week, but I don't mind that. And let's see. Anyone else? Who else is popping up in there? Noren. Let's see what Noren's odds are. 30-1. It's not terrible. And the thing with Noren is he has been someone that has like popped up a decent amount this year. Just lately, he hasn't been playing that well. And so it did seem maybe he was starting to find it again. This is a course that, relatively speaking, he would have been a good play for. And I think he did rank out pretty decently compared to his salary. So yeah, I don't mind that as a live bet you could potentially jump on. And let's see. Last one I want to see is Brooks. Because Brooks is someone that, like, it's just a guessing game with him. It's not even that. It's just, I'm going to bet him every time, and he's going to win 1 out of 8 majors for me. I'll be happy with it. So 16-1 for him. I mean, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. That would probably be my favorite live bet if I need to add one. And I mentioned I probably do want to add one. It's either Shane Lowry or Brooks Koepka. I mentioned I was saving one. What do you guys, what does chat think? Shane Lowry at like 6-1, 5-1, or Brooks Koepka at 16-1? Which one do you like better? And then we'll jump now into some round bets. So we'll talk about matchup bets here. And again, I'll try to just use the major markets, if you will, DraftKings, FanDuel here, Pinnacle, and BetMGM. So let's start with looking at it from the sportsbook edge side. So right now, Keegan Bradley, winner over Harris English. And again, the round 2, this is for round 2. So we'll get into the 9-to-5 edge in just a second. That'll be using just the round 2 data. But looking at from just the sportsbook edge, this is comparing all the other sportsbook against that said book's line. So we got DraftKings Sportsbook right here. We're comparing their line against all the other sportsbooks. They're giving Harris English a slight edge there. I mean, this is practically a 50-50. But the other sportsbooks are giving Keegan about a 54.8% chance. So about a 2% difference there for Keegan. So not bad. Another one, Seb Straka, winner over Jason Day. Now, when we flip it around here, we're actually going to see that the 9-to-5 data is telling us the opposite. So probably not a bet that we want to make. From there, FanDuel, Terrell Hatton, winner over Jon Rahm. Don't hate that. Not a big edge there. So the one bet that we have is really this one on paper. Keegan Bradley over Harris English, when we're just looking at it from a sportsbook edge, comparing those books against all the other ones. Now, I am curious. Let's toss the whole market into this. Not much better. Not much better at all. So we look at it from a 9-to-5 edge now. Now, this is taking the round 2 projections and comparing it against the lines that we are getting, seeing where we're getting an edge. All right, so I don't really want to mess with this top one. Honestly, just don't have enough data on there. And then again, Harris English, loser to Keegan Bradley. So the 9-to-5 data does agree. Jon Rahm, loser to Terrell Hatton. So I don't mind that. Basically a 50-50 push there, but not bad. Seb Straka, loser to Matt Fitzpatrick's kind of interesting one on FanDuel. That's probably where I end it. Jordan Spieth losing to Matt Fitzpatrick as well. If you guys want to double dip with Fitzpatrick, you can. So that tells me that Fitzpatrick probably just is ranking out better. Let's take a peek. Than Jordan. Yeah. We can see the difference there. 19th versus 20. So that makes sense. Again, these aren't meant to be huge edges, and I mean, they're all decent. That's it. We have only a handful of bets there that are, pretty strong for the matchup bets. Let's go jump into 3-ball bets. I haven't checked this at all today. Basically more of the same as it should be. Again, Xander beating his group. We saw that happen yesterday. Corey Connors winning his group. We saw that happening. Aaron Rai, I believe he won his group. That's all expected. Akshay is really the first one that kind of piques my interest, but I typically like to look at 40% and higher. Again, the percentage that we're looking at is their ability, let's put almost the ability not to lose, if you will. It's their ability to win their matchup or tie is what we're looking at, is the percent likelihood there. Because a lot of the times these players do tie, especially when it's a group of 3. You could double dip with Norn there if he's going to continue to play well. Justin Rose, potentially. None of these are crazy. The only one that stands out to me, given the odds that we're getting, is actually maybe Mingwoo Lee as well. But again, I typically don't like to dip below 40% with that. Tony Finau, potentially as well. Russell Henley had himself a good round. Is that going to happen again? Probably not. Tony Finau played pretty well. So I don't mind that as well. Now let's go ahead and take a peek at some prize picks and underdog. In terms of prop line differences, not that many big ones right now, which I'm a little bit surprised by. We're seeing strokes as one. This is something that I did mention on the 9to5 Discord chat, where on Pick 6 and Underdog, they were kind of, well, Pick 6 can adjust their prop lines, but Underdog was very slow to adjust their lines compared to how the course was playing. And so I mentioned that all these players that were available for 3.5 birdies or better, you want to bet the under. All 5 of those golfers that we had lines on at that time, they all had under birdie or better. So that's my way of saying, like, probably best approach is still to maybe wait to see if that happens, if we gain an edge that way, especially with the lines that are out there today or for tomorrow. I don't mind Adam Scott for under his 35, but at the same time, probably just don't need to go there. In terms of edges, we are getting some decent projected edges. And McNeely to get 2, like, that does have a strong chance to be a push. Rory, I don't know if I exactly want to do that. I think I'd rather bet these overs and just hope that they're pushes, but at the same time, probably feels like, or it does feel like I'd be forcing those. So I just don't feel the need to do those. Unders for Akshay, Norin, 54%. That's not terrible, obviously. I don't know if I love those, though. I think Adam Scott under 73.5 is probably the best route. And now that I'm thinking about it while I'm looking at this, I do think I need to add in a filter for AM and PM splits for the golf crowd. Obviously, this is a part of my props tools that a lot of other people are probably familiar with. That brings in all the sports that we have. So, like, if you guys are looking to pair up any of these, Mike Waka under 5.5 hits allowed is one of the best MLB prop bets. Aaron Nola under his fantasy score is one of the better ones as well. Slight edges there if you guys want to run those out with any of the PGA props that we're getting. I believe that starts back up tomorrow, MLB. Decent. Let's jump into underdog here. Zoom out a little bit so you guys can see better. It's a little bit too much. All right, let's see. Yeah, Adam Scott still decent. Sam Burns, it really likes over 2 birdies or better. Likely to just get 2. That's probably what that's telling me. Let's see I don't know what Sam Burns did. Did he score 2 birdies? He did. 3 birdies. Okay. Obviously, he had a terrible round. No, I shouldn't say that. +5. I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, it wasn't good, obviously, but not Rory bad. Yeah, I don't mind that bet. I mean, chances are it's just going to be a push. It's not terrible. I think I can roll with that. What are we thinking? Are we thinking that Shane Lowry's going to be as good with the putter in round 2? Because obviously, I believe he led the whole round 1 in terms of strokes gained putting. Yeah, I don't see that happening again. Yeah, typically is around average on the season. Yeah. I don't think he's going to be dropping bombs that much, but he was pretty good. I thought approach as well. Where was I? Here we go. I think I like that one. Only a 53% chance, but I think I like that one. One thing I noticed about Underdog, we're not getting fantasy score props for Underdog, which I found very annoying. I wish we were. Again, let's see if we're getting any MLB prop bets for Underdog as well. Hunter Brown, earned runs allowed. Okay. So it's heavily favored for him to get under 2.5 earned runs allowed, about a 55%. But at 2, obviously has a strong likelihood to be a push. Not terrible there. Another MLB prop bet. We got a few decent MLB prop bets if you guys want to use those. But yeah, no fantasy score prop bets, which I think is the decent edge that we get on Underdog as well. It's not terrible. Do you guys have any questions? Because if not, I think I'm going to get out of here again. Probably not touching Rory's birdie or better for his under there. Probably favoring a little bit more of those over birdies or better. So like Sam Burns, I'm fine with the over 2 birdies or better. Adam Scott, I do think I'll do with his under 73.5 strokes. Then probably pairing it with one of those pitching props. I don't mind, potentially doing McNeely 2 birdies or better. That one has a strong chance to just be a push. I don't exactly like recommending bets that are probably going to be pushes, but it's kind of the nature of the beast with the Open Championship. I probably will be more waiting to see if we're getting edges on those bets to see how PrizePicks, how Underdog is responding to how the course is playing early on tomorrow morning. And it's not like I'm getting up early. I'm going to check that when I wake up and seeing how the lines have adjusted. I'm trying to see if we're getting any PGA props on pick 6 as well, real quick. Seeing if there's any differences there. Yeah, some differences. That's weird. So pick 6, I guess I'll pull it up here just real quick. So pick 6, we can see Xander at 70.5. I don't want to bet the over, but that it does make sense to bet the over there. In comparison to PrizePicks, his line. His line is 71.5. Like, do we really need to be targeting that then? That's a little bit of a concern for me. We'll jump back into it here. Other ones here. Rory's about the same. Brooks is about the same. Adam Scott's the same, though. I don't want to bet Xander for over strokes, but if you guys are someone that is playing on pick 6, that is the bet. Birdies are better. These are all at 2.5. That's interesting. Potential edge there. Tiger 1.5. Birdies are better. That's sad. I'm trying to see if we have any edges here. Nothing too crazy. It looks like they're just pick 6 just want to put out lines, so they put out lines here. That's pretty much what that's telling me. All right, guys, so that's pretty much going to do it for today's video. Again, probably looking at a decent amount of Brian Harman. In terms of an outright bet, I am thinking about adding Shane Lowry or Brooks Koepka. Doing one of those two, I think. Although I'm pretty comfortable with having a chance at Xander win, having a chance at Adam Scott winning. Kind of thought that would be how this week would go, but might add maybe Brooks to that mix. We'll see. I think that'll be the route to go. Just a good number for him. Not too far off the win rank. And then in terms of props betting, Sam Burns over 2 birdies or better on Underdog. Looking at Adam Scott under 73.5 strokes on PrizePicks. 3-ball bets. Probably looking at Tony Finau to win his group. Akshay to win his group. Ming-Woo Lee to win his group. Maybe pausing it there. If you wanted some worse odd bets that probably are going to hit Xander to win his group again. Aaron Rye, but you're not going to get that, I'm assuming. Then matchup bets. We're really looking at Keegan to beat Harris English tomorrow. That's the best one on the board. Or Alex Noren losing to Ming-Woo Lee. But that's on Bet Online. You probably don't have access to that. So John Rahm loser to Terrell Hatton is also a decent matchup bet as well. So that's going to do it for tonight's video, guys. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with your round 2 bets. Hopefully you had a good round 1 or decent round 1. Hopefully your lineups are too sunk in DFS. Hopefully your bets are looking pretty good as well. Appreciate you guys being here. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.